Hello, today I'm going to share 15 tips for buying a pre-owned sewing machine. The first tip is to have a plan. Shopping for a sewing machine is much like going to the grocery store. When you go to the grocery store, you want to have a list or an idea of what you want before you go, because otherwise you will come back with something that you didn't need that might look pretty and taste good but wasn't necessarily what you were after. So the same is true for a sewing machine. When you're shopping for sewing machines, think about what type of sewing that you want to do, and then research different model machines that are capable of accomplishing the task that you want to complete. If you just have no clue about what kind of machine that you want and you're specifically looking for a vintage machine, go over and check out my other video on this channel about the best vintage sewing machines to buy. I'll try to leave a link somewhere here on screen. I already know that I'm about to hurt some people's feelings with this particular tip, but oh well. Singer is the most well-known sewing machine company in the entire world, and it wasn't just because their vintage machines had superior quality, but because they had superior marketing. So I guess you could say that Singer is like a brand name cereal because everybody knows about them. However, there are many other companies that had sewing machines out during the golden age that are equal, if not better, to the Singer sewing machine. So please do not write out a sewing machine simply because you have never heard of it before, because you might be missing out on something great. This is a Wizard sewing machine, and it's rumored that this machine was made by a brother, but it is one of those quote-unquote off-brand machines that was supposed to be a copy of the Singer 1591. I think that this is a great machine, and the reason why I say this is because the feed doll drop is right there on top, and you don't have to go underneath the machine like you do have to go underneath the machine with the Singer 15 in order to drop the feed dogs. So this is just a wonderful machine, and it's not your typical black, but a beautiful turquoise color. So this is just one example of what you can get when you don't necessarily stick to Singer as a brand for sewing machines that you purchase. Don't be fooled, because there are a lot of metal bodied machines that are all plastic on the inside. There is an entire series of 158 Kenmore sewing machines that are highly sought after. However, not all of them have all metal internal parts. I own the 1941-2, and that one is all metal on the inside. However, there is a top-loading 16900 version of this machine that does have a plastic/nylon gear at the base. Now, some people say that nylon gears are just fine. However, they do wear out over time and need to be replaced, and that can be a pain in the behind. Right now, you are looking at a Singer 626, and this is a touch and sew machine that has all metal gears on the inside. However, once you get down to the 648, as far as I know, there's plastic gears on the inside of that machine. So that can be a trick bag when you're going to buy pre-owned machines, because you don't know what you're getting unless you research the specific model. The next thing that you'll want to consider is the configuration of your sewing machine. You have your oscillating hook machines and then your rotary hook machines. Your oscillating hook machines make a half turn around the bobbin and bobbin case, and then it doubles back in order to complete the stitch. In that turn backwards, it loses some momentum, so the machine runs slower. However, you have to make less modifications to the timing on the machine with this because it's a little bit more forgiving. However, on your rotary hook machines, the hook makes a full 360-degree rotation around the bobbin and bobbin case, and this causes the machine to run much faster. However, you do have to make a little bit more adjustments to the timing on this machine more often because it's a little bit more fiddly and finicky. While we are discussing the configuration of sewing machines, we might as well go over the powertrain. There's 3 different powertrains on a sewing machine. You have your friction, your gear, and your belt-driven machines. Your friction-driven machines are driven by a tiny rubber wheel that sits on the spring-loaded motor, which presses against the flywheel and in turn transfers the energy from the motor to the flywheel so that you get punching power in your needle. Some people would say that you get much more punching power on one of these type of machines because there is no belt or anything else to get in the way of the transference of power from the motor to the machine itself. However, others argue that it slips under the slightest resistance at the needle. And I'm kind of under the mindset that perhaps you would get some slippage at the needle if you were sewing with a really, really thick leather material or something like that. But I can't be sure. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below if you do have one of these friction-driven machines. The next type of machine out there is your gear-driven machine, and most of these gear-driven machines do have a potted motor, and the gears actually transfer the power from the motor directly to the sewing machine, and you get a lot of piercing power with these types of machines. However, I will say that with a potted motor, it does require an awful lot of maintenance because you have to grease wicks that in turn keep your gears lubricated, and to me that is quite messy and problematic, but a lot of people love their potted motor machines and wouldn't live without them. The third type of machine out there is your belt driven machine, and that is really the most popular. The belt driven machines transfer the energy from the motor to the belt and then to the hand wheels so that you get piercing power on your sewing machine. But of course, some of that momentum is lost in the transference of energy from the belt to the machine itself. However, there are machines out there that have more than one belt on them to better distribute the energy, and these machines tend to have a lot more piercing power than the average one belted machine. When you're shopping for a pre-owned sewing machine, you want to make sure that you find a machine that takes common accessories. Most of my machines take a single class 15 bobbin, and those bobbins are pretty easy to come by because you can get them from any craft store. However, when you get down to machines like some of the Janomis that take a Janomi jumbo bobbin, this one that I'm showing you is a Janomi jumbo bobbin that is the type 1. Those bobbins are harder to find, and also they cost more money. So that is something to keep into consideration before you go out and decide on a machine. Also, you want to be careful about the needles that the machine takes. Most machines take a 15x1 needle. However, there are machines that take other types of needles. For example, there is the Singer 319, which takes the 206x13 needles. Those needles are extremely hard to come by and hard to find, and most times you're just going to end up having to order those needles online. So that's something to think about before you consider purchasing a pre-owned machine. Before we continue, give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe and tap that notification bell to receive updates. This should really go without saying, but we need to avoid getting machines that have missing parts. Here are a few examples that I found online of machines that do have missing parts. These parts often take years to find because you have to scour through eBay and other websites to find the part and then make a bid on the part before someone else gets it. So it's just better off to just avoid these types of machines altogether. In the past, I have picked up machines with missing accessories. However, you do have to weigh in the balance and decide whether or not it's really going to be worth it. I picked up an Indeco JA21 for $15. It was missing the design cams, and design cams are just a little disc that allow you to make varying stitches on vintage machines. I was okay with just making a straight stitch and a zigzag, but it took me well over a year to find the design cams online, so that is definitely something that you would want to take into consideration before purchasing one of these types of machines. It's okay to get a machine with missing presser feet, but it's not okay if you're looking at a Bernina, because Bernina presser feet are incredibly expensive. I have a Bernina 1010 and it came with all of the presser feet, but when I go online to look for replacement old style presser feet, those feet cost $20 and up. Oftentimes you'll find an old forgotten sewing machine for sale out of someone's garage, a barn, or just sitting out in their front yard on the cement. These machines have not been in a temperature regulated environment. They often have sawdust inside them, and I've often found them with mice droppings even. Do not get one of these machines unless you're willing to put in a ton of work and unless they come at a deep discount. It doesn't matter how much cast iron is in a sewing machine. If that machine has seen water damage, it is a problem. Water damage is kind of like kryptonite to any type of metal. So if you see mildew, rust, or paint peeling up or bubbling, you know that it has been in contact with water, and you should stay clear of those sorts of machines. By now, you're probably getting the idea that you should pay attention to the smallest details, and one of those small details is the presser foot. If the presser foot is left up, it can wear the spring out on the machine, and the spring will have to be replaced. You should avoid these types of machines if you don't have the skills to be able to replace that spring yourself, or if you're not willing to go and take that machine in for service so that that spring can be replaced by a professional. It's always super important to check out the wiring on a machine before you make a purchase. It's not a big deal to replace the wiring on most machines, but if you're looking at a machine with a potted motor, know that if the wiring is bad, you're going to have a lot of work on your hands. Anytime you purchase a pre-owned sewing machine, especially if it is computerized, you need data. That data can come in the form of knowing the stitch count on the machine, when it was last serviced, and even better yet is if that machine is in a box and has never been used at all. Now, if a machine is in a box and has never been used at all, that doesn't stop the machine from needing to be serviced, because if it's been sitting a long time, that does mean that the machine most likely needs to be taken apart and oiled so that it runs smoothly. Decorative stitches don't mean everything, and here's why. During the lockdowns of 2020, I found a Bernina special for a steal of a price, and this machine had never been used before and was still in the box. However, I turned down this deal to get my Bernina 1010 because it had more stitches on it. However, I never used any of the other stitches on the machine. Here's what I use on the machine, and here's what I think you should look out for if you are searching for a machine specifically for garment making. On this machine, I use the straight stitch, the zigzag, and the blind hem, which is number 3 on the green side of things. On the red side of the stitches, which includes all of your stretch stitches, I use the triple straight stitch, the triple zigzag, and then on occasion, I will use number 11, which is your blanket stitch. Now, I don't ever use the number 12 stitch, which is the overlock stitch on this machine, but if you don't have an overlocker, then you might want to look into a machine that has an overlock stitch. This machine also has a buttonhole built in, and I do think that you should try to find a machine that has a built-in buttonhole, but other than that, you really don't need any other stitches on your sewing machine. The vast majority of buyers skip over machines that say for parts or not working. But you really should not do this because you really can find a diamond in the rough. This is a Kenmore machine that I found online, and the user says that the light is working but the motor is not. However, I did an episode a few weeks ago about my Kenmore with the light on but the motor not working, and it turns out that the motor brushes just needed to be changed. A motor brush change takes about 5 minutes, so you could really get a good deal on a machine if this were the problem with it. And if it turns out that the motor brushes weren't the problem, you really haven't lost much, because a replacement motor really does not cost that much. Because I care about all of my subscribers, I want you to be safe out here when you're buying pre-owned sewing machines. Always make sure to do your transactions in a public space that is well lit, and if you can, bring a friend. Also, if you are a concealed carry member, then bring your concealed carry. If not, then bring something else like a taser or pepper spray. You just need something in order to protect yourself just in case something goes wrong. Also, only do cash transactions. Do not do any wire transfers or online transactions, because these can be quite dangerous, and there have been instances where people have been robbed at gunpoint and had their entire bank accounts cleared out. So just bring cash, and bring the amount of cash that you need for the transaction, and only that. I do have a blog article with some additional information inside of it. If you would like to view that blog article, then go over and check it out at my website. I will leave a link to this down in the description box below. Also, if you have any other additional tips to add to this list, then please do share it with us down in the comments section. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to receive more sewing related content. Peace.